All right, guys, now it is time to create Zentangles in the back. So this is when the project just, I think, becomes super, super cool, and it really shows off your personality and your own artistic style. So just like with the coloring and with the composing, there are different degrees of difficulty for this project. So the first level of difficulty is just using a fine point Sharpie. So you should have 2 Sharpies from the beginning of the year that we gave you in your art kits. You'll have one that says fine point and you'll have one that says ultra fine point. So for the simple, most easiest level, you're actually going to use ultra fine point. All of these Zentangle designs that I did were done with this marker right here. The reason that this is easy is it goes really quickly for you, and because you're using a thicker tip, you just aren't being as precise. So you're able to make bigger shapes, not super detailed shapes, and it fills the space really, really quickly. The second level is a combination of fine and ultra fine Sharpie. So with this one, you can see that we've graduated a little bit. You can see that things have gotten a little bit more complex, a little bit more complicated. And besides just choosing more complicated designs, it's because you get smaller and smaller details available to you when you use an ultrafine Sharpie. The final degree of difficulty, the hard level, is I only used the ultrafine Sharpie for this example. And you guys can see, even from the medium, which is this, you can see how much more complex, how much smaller everything is, in addition to choosing different Zentangles. So for those of you guys who don't know what a Zentangle is, it's basically like an elaborate doodle. It is not something that's just like a random scribble. It's something that is well thought out. It's well designed, and it uses just black and white shapes and lines to create the design. So on your presentation, you're going to have examples of easy Zentangles. So these ones are pretty easy to accomplish with your fine point Sharpie. You're going to have examples of medium ones that are a little bit harder, have a little bit more detail, and you might have to alternate between the fine and ultra fine. And then for the hard ones, these ones take a lot of different steps. It's not just drawing crisscrossing lines and coloring them in. It's drawing lines that are on top of each other, intermixed with each other, and then drawing more details inside. So it gets to be a little bit more complicated. I also recommend just typing Zentangles into Google and kind of seeing what pops up. So let's talk about the requirements of this part of the project. You need to make sure that even when a letter or character interrupts a square, so like how the A and the G are here, it still has to continue. So my design continued going on, which is really fantastic. Each box equals 1 Zentangle design. So you're going to be doing 24 different Zentangle designs. Even if you're doing hard, medium, or easy, you're still making 24 different designs. You can't repeat a design. So this is really a test of your creativity and originality, and to get you to come up with more than just one idea. I have a little tip for you guys. If you lightly sketch out a basic design, then cover it in Sharpie, it's easier to do it. So especially when you have things like straight lines, if you want to use a ruler or something to draw those straight lines and then go back and marker it, you can. So let's go ahead and start transforming my design into a Zentangle design. Okay, so we can use some inspiration from here. I think I'm gonna do like just a really simple line design, and then I'll show you guys how you can make it a more difficult line design going through easy, medium, and hard. So I'll keep this handy because this is a great resource to refer to. So I'm gonna start really easy in this corner up here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you guys. And I'm gonna use my big fat Sharpie. Well, it's not big and fat, it's a fine point Sharpie. And I'm just gonna do really simple lines. And I'm going to be very careful where my lines meet, and I'm just gonna use the side and color every other one. Oh, and one thing I forgot to say is you guys should definitely have a piece of paper or a messy mat underneath your work. That way the Sharpie doesn't bleed through and go onto the classroom tables. It just helps to keep our tables a little nicer looking. Okay, so for my next one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a combination of these two, but I'm gonna stick with some sort of a straight line design. I'm actually gonna start exactly the same way. But I'm gonna make it smaller. And I'm gonna use my big Sharpie to go back and color in some areas. Now, if you make a mistake, we don't have any whiteout, so just make your mistake, fix it. You can even change it as you go. Okay, so you can see how we've added complication and we kind of mess with our materials a little bit more. On this last one, on the most challenging one, I'm going to switch back to vertical lines and I'm gonna add some horizontal lines too, making it just a little bit more difficult to do. I also have to make sure that whatever lines that I do, I make it go behind my letter also. Okay, so you guys can very clearly see how we've gone from easy to medium to difficult. The difficult one definitely did take some more time, but it just depends on really what type of look you're going for. So I just want to do another example of what this might look like if we're using something simple like a scallop design, how it can change as you're going through the levels. So again, I'm going to start with just my fine point, and I'm going to do scallops all throughout 3 different types of designs. I'm going to switch to this one. Now for my last one, I'm only gonna use this, and I have to be careful where the A is. I have to pretend like my design just continues behind the A. All right, so you guys can see how I have complicated my design as I've gone. Again, these ones up here are used with this, the middle ones are used with both these, and then the most difficult ones only use the ultra fine. I also, something that I've noticed about a lot of the more complex zentangling is it uses things like value, things like stippling, hatching, different types of cross hatching and line work, and a lot of times optical illusions. When I did my hard example, I did a lot of optical illusion work, kind of like insert or having lines crisscross. Remember that you can always use a pencil first and erase it later if that's what you need. But right now, I just need to keep working on it until it looks like these ones. And I have 6 done, so I'm 1/4 of the way done. So this will probably be the longest part of your guys' project, but it should be the part that you really focus on to have really great craftsmanship. And then when you're done with all 24 squares, you are done with the project. So go ahead and watch the how to newly submit your work.